Okay, this is for the projectionist of the show only. This is not to be seen with the show. If you're not the projectionist, just advance the tape up to the color bars and the movie will begin. Okay, so here's what's going on. When you were shipped the tape, you got this box. And this box is to change the copyright date on the films based upon the year that you're screening these films. So, you know how film festivals always want brand new films? Well, this box makes every one of these films brand new. So what you do is it's on 2008 here, and there's a little knob over here. If you turn it, you can change it to 2009. There's two knobs. You can figure this out, and you can go up to 2080. I don't care. So when you are done, ship it all back. Be sure you include the little box to me, and thank you very much for doing this.
Don't cry, baby. Don't cry, baby. Dry your eyes and let's be.
Yeah, he's not a big permit guy in many aspects of his life.
You got all of my money in my best friend. You know the story. Here it comes again. I have no pride. I have no shame. You got to make it rain. You got to make it rain. Well, since you're gone, deep inside it hurts. Another sad guest on this darker. I wanna believe in the mercy of the world again. We can make it rain. Make it rain. Nights to cry, midst our low. I need a whip of thunder. Winds all low. I'm not able. Open up heaven, make it rain. I'm close to heaven, close to the gate. They sharpen their knives on my mistakes. What she does, you can't give it her name. Make it rain. Make it rain. Without her love, without your kiss, hell can't burn me more than this. I'm not able, I'm just can't. Open up your heavens, make it rain.
If you could make a film about your life and you really think about it, you'd find more bad things than good. Start now. What could you remember?
Did you see that? Did you see that?
What?
That was Karl. That was Karl Krogstad out there.
No.
Don't you remember? We gave him that bathrobe 3 years ago.
Autobiography is to make sense of one's life. That doesn't even sound easy. The past is not mere sequence or even development. Life is an imaginative act. Waiting for death was like a feather on the back of my hand. And then Karl died.
But I think there was a time when I asked my brother if he was still mad. And he said, yeah. I mean, this is current. Still pissed that Dad died when we were so young.
So Karl was always very bitter about that. But he always, at his memorial, one of the things that I said was that he was a very contrary person. And he was like the Indians that rode their horse backwards, you know. And his brother did tell me that Karl was very athletic and very strong, and he could do pull-ups with his fingertips.
Paddy, what we're doing is we're talking to people who knew Karl.
Oh,
now I
know.
believe you knew Karl.
Of
here.
course.
Yeah.
That's how I decided he might be okay as a boyfriend, was because he cared for this dog so well. I mean, he was very eccentric, as you know, and his house was very eccentric, and I couldn't see, he didn't look like boyfriend material. But I saw how nicely he related to this dog and how he cared for it, and I thought, well, you know, there's obviously love in this man, and it was true. And I've never known anyone as kind as Karl.
I really have a sense of belief in true love because of my experience with him. That he still is the person I want to talk to anytime anything happens to me, about everything that happens to me. That the sight of him still thrills me, that I find his mind surprising and delightful and reassuring. And to be able to have a chance to express that just meant so much to me.
He was, he had the lead. He wasn't kicked out, he had the lead.
Oh, he was a genius at cooking. Really. A complete genius. He could do things with fish that no one else could do.
I like to fish quite a bit, and I'll fish with a guide. That's not really Karl's.
A guide?
A guide, yeah. You hire a guide. You pay money to go fishing.
Really?
Yeah, Karl was not quite into that.
I can imagine, yeah.
But,
so what was this thing about him not wanting to use bait?
Karl Krogstad was the best fisherman I ever met. It's like the fish just came to him. He had that rare animal-like grace, that a combination of athleticism and strength. It was just a pleasure to watch on the stream. And did you know he even made all his own lures?
I went to school with Karl. College. Knew Karl for, I guess, about 33 years. Karl and I loved motorcycles, fishing. We did all these activities together to the point of fanaticism, if you will.
Worthington. Yeah, he was there. He was at the wake.
So even if Worthington lied, he made us think in terms of murder.
The smoky candle. End of time.
May it please heaven that the reader, emboldened and become of a sudden momentarily ferocious like what he is reading, may trace in safety his pathway through the desolate morass of these gloomy and poisonous pages. Or as the director would say, these poisonous shots. For unless he is able to bring to his viewing a rigorous logic and a spiritual tension equal at least to his distrust, the deadly emanations of this film will imbibe his soul as sugar absorbs water.
I have come from many influences. Two of the undeniable are my Aunt Elaine and Uncle Hans Jorgensen. Hans was a fashion photographer for Harper's Bazaar. Then he moved to Seattle, marrying my father's sister, Elaine. Hans was a powerfully successful photographer in Seattle, and Elaine Jorgensen became a whiz at interior design. Coming from close family members like this explains plenty.
When I first met Karl Krogstad, he was on the corner of 2nd and Pike. He was trying to pawn off 15-year-olds in crack. He was drunk, drinking Old English 800. Thought he's the biggest loudmouth I ever met in my life.
Why did I find him so riveting and yet so scary at the same time? Because I actually took me a long time to adjust to the idea of him. I think he really startled me with his loudness and his way of speaking. He does a very sort of send and then stop kind of way of interacting. So at first it felt to me like he wasn't a good listener necessarily, because he was just talk, and then stop and say, okay, you say something. But then I realized that's his way about that does not mean that he's not a good listener. He's actually a wonderful listener.
È questa la fine del mondo.
Just like his father and mother, he was buried in a driving rainstorm. What was different, that had never happened before, was that he was buried at night. My mother taught me how to swim in Lake Sammamish. Who taught you how to swim? 3 days before my mother died, I asked, "How are you doing?" She replied, "Better and better." The last communication I had from my father was, "Keep smiling." He died at 38. This is Dad. This is Mom.
And then my mother legally changed her name to Barbara Hale and became an actress on the Perry Mason TV series. Imagine, my mother was Della Street.
I have these photos of my mother and father. It was a storybook high school romance that went way on.
So yeah, we had July 25th. I was born in 1950. He was born in 1948, so 2 years apart. We always thought Mom and Dad had sex, I think, on Halloween. He was a little small for his age, but then he had 2 years on me. So for a while he could pummel me, and he did liberally. It was actually horrible being his little brother.
I don't know. I think he's wondering if it's on or not. Say something.
Well, it was a good show. I heard, do your best.
They all are. Wait. Let's let them follow us around. They get an up angle with the glowing blue.
I was walking by here, and this fella, drunk.
Yes.
Came by
My
me.
brother. Yeah, he gets like
He
that.
said, "This is great. This is a great place."
No,
You
his name
gotta
is
go."
Greg. It's not Greg. Greg.
No.
So back in, I think it was 2002, he starts this Idiot Savant film. And he had a habit of self-promotion where he would do a lot of postering around town. And I mean, we're talking, 2 and 3 foot size posters that he would sneak around at night with a crew of his followers and with white glue, not just, staples, but white glue, apply these posters to public property, to other people's buildings and, columns that support the freeway and everywhere. So all of a sudden, one morning, my phone, I'm a commercial photographer, he's a filmmaker. So he doesn't have address in the white pages. There is no Krogstad Films, but there is a Krogstad Photography. So one morning, my phone just could not stop ringing. Everyone was pissed, and I was getting all the calls. And I kept saying, "Well, that's not me. I don't know the guy." And then the police came, serving me papers. Well, again, it's not me. I don't know who he is. So that was one of the roughest times for us, because I thought he was just abusing my good name to his benefit. It really pissed me off.
Mr. Williams, this court's sole objective is to arrive at the truth, and if it takes a sideshow to do so, then well and good. Call the borough Sheba.
Borough Sheba will come forward, please.
So, criminal court is not like Perry Mason. And that's a learning process. I was in criminal court 6 times in 1 year. And the fellow who was pursuing me was the prosecuting attorney. His name was Doug Jewett, and he wanted to be the mayor of Seattle. And he thought that he couldn't lose if he went after me for postering without a permit and damage to public property. And there were 11 counts. And that means there was like $55,000 in fines and 11 years in prison. So that's what, and in criminal court, you got to take it seriously because they can actually put you in jail. So that began this, and I immediately, once I got the deal, I went to a great friend of mine, a famous defense attorney, and he looked at the paperwork and he said, "Oh no, I can't do this. No, this is going to take a long time. It's going to be pricey. It's going to be a mess. And what you should do is walk down to public defense." And I said, "Public defenders?" And he said, "Yes, they're gonna fight over you." And I went, And he said, "Trust me." And I went, "All right, I trust you." So I go down there, and sure enough, they fought over me because I'm a First Amendment case, and they never have First Amendment cases. What they do is they get kids that, get drunk and mow down people in a car. That's their cases. I'm the only guy. So they did fight over me, and I got 2 attorneys. They settled on 2 of their best, and they were Ken Sears and Pam Studerman. So we went into court. I went in 6 times. I'm going to try to make this a short story. It's not a short story. And on the 3rd time in, I was with, I never went in with both attorneys until the last time. So on the 3rd time in, I go in with Ken Sears. And he takes one look at the judge, whose name was Schaefer, and he says, "We're going to lose." And I said, "Well, how do you know that? You haven't said anything." And he said, "Well, because he's not interested in constitutional law, and that's what we're arguing today. The 3rd time in is when we argue that." And I said, "Oh, that's weird." So we're in there for 45 minutes, and he is eloquent. Oh, my sweet heavens, he's eloquent. And as we come out, we had lost, and he said, And I go, "Yeah, that's sort of scary." And he said, "Well, it doesn't hurt you at all if you lose on this case." I went, "Okay, fine." So, a half year later, I'm going in for the last time. I'm skipping ahead. And on the last time, we get there, and there's both of my attorneys. And they have told me I have to have $300 cash on me. And they said, "Can you produce $300 cash?" Which I thought was sort of charming. I said, "Yes." And so they said, "You got the money, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." So again, $55,000, 11 years. And the case before me is this young kid, and sure enough, he was drunk, he stole a car, and he ran somebody down. And the other defense attorney over there, again, from, my same clan there, these are public defenders, and she is arguing with the judge. And guess who the judge is? That's right, it's Schaefer again. And I'm going, "Oh no, oh no." And so she's whipping him up into this frenzy. I mean, they're literally screaming at each other. And of course, in criminal court, we do learn over time that everybody knows everybody else. Now, the prosecution, I've always had to go up against a guy, well, not always, but usually against their crack guy. And the crack guy is a guy named Wally. And he's a cross between Salvador Dali and Wyatt Earp. He has this huge handlebar mustache, and Wally's there again. I'm going, and the first time I came up against Wally, they said, "Don't laugh at Wally. Wally's a pariah. He is your piranha. Don't make fun of Wally. He's the real deal here." So I'm going, "Oh crap!" And of course he's there. And there's 3 of them now. Now the guy from the city had assigned a special prosecutor, a woman who had never bothered to show up, in 5 times. Now on the last time she's there, and I'm going, "Oh man!" There's 3 of them. There's 2 of us. They're on either side of me, and they whisper into my ear, "No matter what happens here, you will not say anything, and you will not do anything." And I thought, okay. And so here's this other public defender screaming at the judge, who I already know is not my favorite judge. And then that case is done. And the judge says, City of Seattle versus Karl Krogstad. All stand. So we stand up. And they're on both sides of me. And I thought that was sort of odd going into this. And then the judge says, and who represents Karl Krogstad? And that woman over there that has just been screaming with the judge, I represent Karl Krogstad. And the minute she said that, these guys who know me well grabbed my arms and squeezed like vice grips. Because they said, don't do anything, don't say anything. I'm going, this is really, really weird. So anyway, then Judith Hightower is her name, spoke for me. She spoke probably 2 minutes. And then the prosecution chimes in with a special prosecutor, and the judge says, and why have you not been here for the previous 5 times? And she said, well, I've had other important cases, and I've been on vacation. And the judge goes, well, you really miss so-and-so, that's really lame. And Wally's going, but no. And so within another minute, the judge says, we consider this case frivolous. And there's a long story to that, which I'm not going to get into. The minute you hear in criminal court the word frivolous, you go, whoa, my God. Frivolous is something you want to hear if you are the defendant. And he says, we're charging the defendant $300, case dismissed, bam, comes down. And I'm going, oh, and they grab me again with the arms. And they are running me to this little teeny weeny invisible side door thing. And I'm going, okay. And now the prosecution are just screaming. All 3 of them are screaming at the judge. And they're taking me, and they open the door, and we're in this really narrow corridor, and we're rushing down the corridor. And there's like 20 people at this one little open window thing, this office area. And so my attorneys shove the other people away. They literally shove them away. And I think it was Pam Studerman who said, Cheryl, I want form ... and bam, down comes her hand. She slaps the thing. She says, and I mean now. And there's one of the clerks, there's the other clerk, they're putting out papers. There's like a dozen papers, and 2 different types. And Pam says, get out the $300. And I went, okay. And I throw it in the $300, and they just sign, here. And I'm signing as fast as I can. And I'm going, oh my God. And then we're done. And I look at them, and I said, was there some big rush here? And they said, yes, there was a very, very serious rush here. If we had gone 1 more minute, this could have been prolonged, and you're not free. But now you are. And I went, wow, criminal court. Big deal.
This film will be a collage because that's how I see my life, and that's how I see your life. But when you actually put your life on film, the unrelenting part is just a little on the overbearing. So this is my personal apology. I am not a commercial filmmaker. The likes of a PBS documentary would water it down, slow it down, and flood it with terrible, simplistic music. That's not what you're in for.
Great God, stop still and listen to the story about Jezebel. Her sin was so wicked, Jehovah got angry. Her soul went leaping and jumping into hell. Way back yonder in the olden days, John told Jezebel about her ways. Said evil deeds had ruined the land. Repent, for the kingdom of God was at hand. She got mad at John cause he told about the gospel. Told the servants to boil him in oil, but they tell me God looked from the windows of a both one word and the oil wouldn't boil. He raised his hands, creation trembled. Stamped his feet and time stood still. Raised his voice, looked down and thundered, John, go do my will. You got to go to judgment stand.
It's a totally different childhood to be raised in, on a movie set. And it was pretty amazing that, he tried to make it more like home. So in these factories, he would build a home, in this not so home-like situation. So I had my own little house that was built with like a tree swing in the middle of this, movie set.
His legacy is his beautiful daughter. That's the number one legacy around this place.
Here's my daughter trying to preserve my paintings. I know it doesn't look like Catherine, but this was when she was really young. Most of my paintings were done on paper. It really doesn't look like my daughter, but hey, times change. many of my paintings were saved.
It's a mix. It's a blend. I'm very happy with my two totally opposite parents that have given me both, you know, so many different qualities that add up to whatever the hell I am.
So how are they opposite?
Oh, they're just complete opposites. But in what way? I mean, she's very the normal mom, the caring, the loving, the very sweet, down to earth, bake you cookies mom, and then he's the crazy, give you a shot, run around, so much fun dad.
We were trying to find any alcohol other than beer for Poppy to be drinking.
This is like the old Olympia Brewery. It makes this now.
Really?
Yeah, Tumwater is Olympia.
That is bizarre. What do we got here? We have
They're proud to tell you that it's union made.
Pilsner.
And then they don't tell you what's in it. But there's a number for consumer questions. I've got several questions right now.
Well, but that's the problem. We're not with them right now, and we can't call them right now.
This says flavored beer.
Yeah, that's the problem. What
Well-
it is, but it's not. That's the weird thing. Because
Well, is
you're
there any
not
vodka in
legally
this?
allowed to... That's the thing. You're not legally allowed to sell any sort of
So
liquor
there's no
or-
vodka in there.
But
It just looks like there ought to be vodka in there. I cannot drink that.
it tastes like, what can I say for you? It's going to be a sparkling...
Oh, no. Okay, that's it. I can't. I
drink.
can't. I have standards. They may be low, but I have
You're
standards.
really screwed, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I can watch you drink. What's wrong with mine? Has mine gone bad? Okay, hold
I
it up.
gotta remember all this.
And what?
Something about the color. It's supposed to be a certain color. Like
Mine's
it's not supposed to be too...
Mine's extremely burgundy.
I don't know what that means exactly.
Well,
Anyways,
no, it's purple.
So we're gonna say this is good.
All right.
And then since we have no sense of smell, yeah, we do smell it.
We smell it.
So you get a big whiff?
Smells the same as everything else to me. And then what? Then we roll it around.
And then
Ugh.
that allows the
Yeah.
to get in,
And then we.
and then you take a little sip. I'm doing this all wrong. You take a little sip, but you gotta swish it around and get it to all, because there's all these different parts in your mouth.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Everyone has a different sense, right? Anywhere, right here.
Thank you. Right there. Lovely. All right, here we go. This is the toast that I haven't had in a long time, and of course everyone enjoys it. To 1,000 women and 2,000 breasts.
And us.
You met a woman on an 18th floor in Monaco because of that
She's
film.
my new
Godmother.
mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Have you bothered to write her since you have her new address?
No, I need to write her.
Huh,
Start
why,
a little buddy.
why didn't you write her when you got her address?
I got it yesterday, the day before yesterday. You were coming in. I got it when I
So
got
you've
home
had
from
2
work.
days already in which to write the woman.
You're right. I'm just gonna leave right now. I'm gonna go home and I'm
You
gonna
know,
write her
actually,
a
you have some
letter.
time to kill between now and when we get back together later on today. You could be jotting it down. You know what you should do? You should go into a stationery store and get a pen and a piece of paper, and you
Really?
could go, "Dear Simone Bain," and you write a nice little note. What would you say to her?
See, that's the
What
fact
would you
here.
say to her? What was the advice in
I've
the
met
letter?
this woman twice in my life. Then I'm
What-
supposed to tell her what I did today. All right. I'll tell her what I did today.
How old is she?
What, like
Well,
98?
no, she's not 98. She's
87.
No, she's not even 87.
You don't
She's
even
like,
know how old
I don't
she
know. I
is.
think she's
No.
84 now. Anyway, so the bottom line is,
very old.
when you're 84 and she's waiting for a letter from you, literally, if you said, I had a lunch today and I had some delicious little olives in a peppery oil thing and some nice salmon with leeks or whatever, and then wait, do we have one of these? And then I try to eat some really creepy crawly things dipped in batter. Anyway, so tell her that, and then you would have enough of a letter and say, I'm in New York City, the town that Nostradamus
Does she
predicted
not know that I'm here?
would be attacked
Does she
in
not-
1532.
She does not. Does she not know I'm
No,
here?
of course not, because you haven't told her, have you?
Well, I figured that was kind of your job too. If you're talking to, when was the last time you wrote?
I'll see.
Oh.
No, I wrote once. Look, the woman hates me. I wrote once.
She's your friend, though.
I know. I'm going to write again when I get home. I can't write. I don't have a piece of paper or
That's why you should go to a nice little stationery store, pick yourself up a little pen and a piece of paper.
Oh, God.
It was really important to me that you kept your promises to her and would be with her every day. I mean, that takes a kind of commitment that I did not grow up knowing. You had imaginary worlds, and you're, in a sense, like Kip, who gets bored with the game, or, you know, and then he'll make up rules and stories. And of course, that's what you did with her. And I think she has, you know, imagination in a way that I don't, because you were able to do that. I mean, you'd get down on the floor with her and play.
Well, Karl spent about 13 years with a beautiful, stunted monster who believed in creationism. You can imagine why Karl grew to hate in this. And then a woman named Marina saved him from all that. They traveled to France and Italy together. This adventure sort of set Karl free. Travel reveals an enormous power to choose who we love, what we eat, what we see. Travel reveals this.
For the few people who know I'm calling this my autobiography, they have asked, tell us what the most important things are. And the most important thing in my life has been my daughter. If nothing else, she has made my life worthwhile. And living with Eve Wright has been my greatest joy and my great answer for the future. And as for work, Robert Altman was once asked, why do you direct films? I.e., why do you do what you do? And he said, because I can't do anything else, and I'm gonna fall on Altman's sword. That's my answer too. And now, back to the tale. Quick, take a nice picture with this man. Because if you don't, it's not gonna happen, because I got a problem. Kiss me. Come on. What are you waiting for? Jody, you had your hand up. Are you gonna yell at me?
I just want to say that the movie's fantastic and that all the novels and all the things you have to read to get onto this, and then when you get to Dante and the Divine Comedy, it's so strong in this movie. And there's a lot more than just talking about music. There's a lot of symbolism, there's a lot of composition achieved in your work.
Oh, thank you. Very good. Come on, who wants to know anything? Or I'm just going to dismiss you early. Okay, yep.
A lot of the expressive quality of the film is the music.
Yeah.
But
you mean the first portion or the second portion?
The first big portion.
All right.
But you said you don't give credit to all that music.
No, I'd love to give credit. How long do you want to sit here and watch credit? You know, you want to hear the name Recoil 8 times? The Avalanches, Recoil. I mean, it goes on and on. You know what we did? Considering we can use anything, we actually tried to put the Beatles in. We actually tried to use some Beatle music, but we couldn't. It didn't work. So, okay, what's your question, though?
But
I'm sorry.
You spent time to put Noah's Bagels in the credits.
Oh, man. Now, you're touching a nerve here. Noah's Bagels saved my fucking ass. You know, I love Noah's Bagels. Go out and buy those goddamn bagels. They are great. You know, do I know Macy Gray? No! What's Macy done for me except for 20 seconds of the best goddamn music you've ever heard? No. You know? After that, have you got something? I'm sorry.
It seems almost hypocritical that a lot of the expression in the film is the music, and you're taking music from artists to create
Plenty of
more
artists.
art.
Lots of artists.
Lots of very many artists.
Yes.
But my question is, like, why would you spend time to put Noah's Bagels, which didn't contribute to the film?
Noah's Bagels is a lot more important to me than Janet Jackson. You know, trust me, call me crazy. You know, when you make films, what you do is you feed your crew or you've got no crew. You know, these people are not paid. No one got paid 1 cent. So, you know, unless you can feed them, you got nobody. So Noah's Bagel speaks to me. You know, I'd like to give credit to Holon, you know, out of Belgium, out of, you know, Montreal. But, you know, again, we could be sitting here for another, you know, 5 or 10 minutes.
You stole music.
Oh, no. No, oh, no. No, you don't know much about the Berne Convention in Switzerland, do you? That's called the Fair Use Clause, because you know what? This is an educational. Okay, so I was at Sam. I showed the film, big audience, and this one guy said, "Why are there no music credits on this film?" And I said, "Well, did you notice the number of names that are on this film? I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of names, and I didn't want to get into music that I had grabbed because we did not do original music on that film." And I said, you know, if I honor the audience just enough so that I'm not going to put them through another couple of hundred names of musics. You know, I said Janet Jackson really doesn't need a credit. Janet Jackson is in there for 5 seconds, and I'm going, Janet doesn't need a credit, but the audience, my audience, needs to not just sit there and go, 10 minutes of musical credits with, from people that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know Janet Jackson. And, 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, I'm going, this is wrong. And he wouldn't let it go. He kept coming at me. And I answered it, and then he did it again. I answered it again, he did it again. And then other people popped up in the audience saying, let me speak on behalf of Karl here. I went, wow. I had some eloquent defense that evening at Sam. And he going, But it was so doggone awkward because it had become a heckler on a topic which I had answered fully. He didn't like my answer, but he wouldn't stop. And you don't want that to happen, You're in a public space, and how do you stop it? Whenever you do a show like this, you get hate letters, you get hate mail. And we received a hate email today, and you go, wow, this is so scary. When you put yourself out there, you have to face the pluses, of which there are plenty, and then you have to also accept the minuses. And it's like the minuses of minor fame are pretty much the same of major fame. The comment by Cocteau is that, I can't see the films you see because I can't. I don't know what you see. And that's part of the idea. This is a Duchamp idea, that in fact, when you get an audience, you complete the work. The film is not a film until an audience sees the film. I used to think, well, that's bullshit. All I want to do is I want to make the film for myself. And that's good enough. If I make myself happy by making the film, that's it. Well, that's not really it. It's not it in any form of art. And the audience completes the work. So, again, all I see is the pain and suffering each shot has cost me. It's not the entire film. I like the sense of unity at the end of a film. It's all chaotic. Making a film is like you get 100 balls in the air, and to make a film, they all have to hit at the exact same moment. And that's part of the efficiency, the business, the business management of making cinema. And that I am still enamored with. I like the idea that there's all these doggone balls, and we've got to make them all hit at once. And you assemble a team of people, and that happens. And at that point, you feel pretty good about, what you do. Last question, what you got?
What was your favorite color in the movie?
What is my favorite color in the movie?
Yeah.
It's chartreuse. All right, that's it.
How do you get away with using all those uncleared things?
What do you mean uncleared? Have you never heard of the Fair Use Clause? You should do a little research.
Just because it's
Fair use, these are educational films. You should get on the internet and look into this.
seems kind of middle ground.
Are you an attorney?
No.
Are you serving any papers?
No, I'm not.
Then that's it.
But if I work,
get on the internet and look this up.
If I work for the bathhouse, I'll come out to it.
Maybe.
I would
I'd say very few people understand Karl's films, but a lot of people enjoy his films.
Don't do that.
Understanding's not important with Karl's films. It's not the point.
Next week.
No. No one else could do what he's doing.
Not tonight. Very good.
Carl roped me into doing something for nothing.
And he'll go, oh, you know, okay, so how you do it is you come up and you just, I want you to, I just want you to feel this real quick. All right, now go.
Every single show, somebody or a group of people always come on. And did you see, I preface this by saying, some of you will not like this film. Because let's face it, this is not your cup of tea. I don't know how you got to this venue, but you're here and, you know, may God be with you. But the bottom line is, some of you will not enjoy this film. And then I told them, and this is cute. I said, you know, if you don't like the film, don't stick around for Skunk Lady. If you didn't like this film, you're gonna loathe Skunk Lady. Get the hell out of here. You like Skunk Lady.
It's Skunk Lady. That's,
Do you find it to be inspiring somehow?
It's so inspiring.
I need your arms around me. I need to feel your touch. Away a candle's fickle flame. To think I held you yesterday, your love was just a game. A golden bird that flies away, a candle's fickle flame. To think I held you yesterday, your love was just a game. You tell me that you love me so. You tell me that you care. Take the time to get to know me. If you want me, why can't you just show me? We're always on this roller coaster. If you want me, why can't you get closer? Never there.
No, I don't know about inspiring. Let's see.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Gigabyte Trilogy.
Yeah.
Because that one was based on our life. So that was fun.
The American Avant-Garde I really, really miss. I thought that was a really exciting show, and it allowed me to see a lot of work that I wouldn't have seen ordinarily. And I just loved his enthusiasm that he brought to showing the work of others, not just his own. I thought that was, I'm sorry it's gone.
And I remember telling Eve that, why would I do this? This is stupid. This is going to take a lot of time and a lot of my money. You know, they're not going to pay me what it costs to make the show. Why would I do this? And she said, well, what else are you going to do? And I went, ha, ha, well, there's a good question. So, you know, you can't call yourself a filmmaker unless you make films. And I thought, I could do this. It would be interesting. And I thought I would give myself a year. I would do it for a year and see if I enjoyed it. And I did enjoy it. And now we're in year 3 or year 8. I'm not sure when this is going to be seen.
I always wanted to be a rock star.
Am I awake? PG and I are looking for something we can operate on. We want something to fix.
What do I think of residency? Hell. Eat when you can, sleep when you can, pee when you can. That's why they call it residency. You live in the hospital.
I think better than saving lives is that I'm trying not to kill anyone.
Live from the south of France! Of course you're not really live, but look, there's no funny spinning things behind me. It's a real shot, and we're in the south of France. The American Avant-Garde
The American Avant-Garde is hosted by filmmaker Karl Krogstad.
Here I am leaning in.
This is your show, right?
Oh, yes, certainly is, Corrine. God damn it, get your own fucking cameras and get somebody's rat hole basement and green leg to do this. For the camera, what's your name?
Corrine Hollister.
Good. Because we have 8 Corrines. Only 1 Hollister. What were you going to ask me? You wanted a setup.
I'm wondering what the end, what's your vision for this project that I'm showing up for?
Well, of course, HBO will buy it, and I'll become a millionaire, and no one will care about you. What kind of stupid question is that? At those humongous mams.
Sexual harassment.
Not yet, sweetie. I could get there, though.
Seeds just fell all over him. But one of them went into his ear. It started rooting. Eventually the roots went into his brain, and it sucked up brain cells. Not very much of it, maybe 50 cells or so. So he was retarded in some subjects, and he's just the same in others.
He goes and gets a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Now, we've already seen a Swiss Army knife scene in this film. So when you see him...
Bad might happen, yeah.
Oh. And then he takes out the tweezer, and he takes the seed out of his grandfather's ear, and slowly but surely, he just looks at the seed, and he starts crying. End of movie. That's quite an ending. So, how did you get your son to cry?
Well, in the middle of this whole movie is sort of enshrouded by death. I mean...
Directly to you from the studios of the American Avant-Garde.
Where are you going? Where are you going? Get back here for the American Avant-Garde. You can get a sandwich later. Come on here. These artists have suffered for their work. Now it's your turn.
Whoopie-doo-dah. Okay, I'm sorry, Lynn. Sorry. I forgot to take my medication. Okay, I'm sorry. Lynn, please have a seat. Come right in here.
And it all sticks to each other, it sticks and overlaps, and so you get little sprocket hole patterns. And
yeah,
I love it.
I know, so do I.
What are you doing to my... No, you just need to do the bright...
Film is really in the position to be telling stories, or where there's something else that it might be doing.
Instead of just going punk rock and preaching to the choir, I'm trying to take my disillusionment, my anger, my frustration, and all my passion, my destructive passions, and put it into a beautiful form so that other people can be brought in.
2 middle-aged filmmakers are trapped in the swirling maze of their own experimental movie during television's most fantastic show, The American Avant-Garde.
Live from the space-time vortex, it's the American Avant-Garde. And of course, from some time perspectives, it might appear pre-recorded. Live from an ordinary bank account. Can you imagine it? Just kidding. It's all pre-recorded. You knew that. Well, anyway, where's that surcharge? What's going on? Is that an extra fee?
I'm getting out. I'm getting out of here. Stay where you are. I'm getting out of here. Stay where you are.
Where do you get the magic? Well, you get it from your subconscious. You already have it. It's in you. Now you just have to notice it.
Now the focus moves from form to content.
I don't think about the American avant-garde very much nowadays. I used to. But now it's one of those things, it's like this this mythical creature that once existed and is now forgotten. And then every now and then it'll suddenly come up in my mind and it'll be, oh, that's right.
live in Vegas, the gateway to Seattle, San Francisco, and Bellevue. It's the American avant-garde, and of course, everything is pre-recorded.
When I was in Las Vegas with Karl, our little group were staying at a modest hotel. One afternoon we walked up to Caesar's Palace just to check it out. And we went out back to the swimming pool, which is the size of a lagoon in the South Pacific. And some very upscale, snooty women sunning themselves in lounge chairs around the pool. And we were all standing there in the shade for a while to cool off. And Karl took his clothes off, stripped down to his undershorts, and dove into the pool. And he swam a considerable distance to a poolside bar, got a glass of red wine, and paddled back. And these women were just staring bug-eyed, and we didn't know whether to hide our faces in shame or to applaud his heroic act. He's fearless. He's fearless.
He's an inspiration to be around, you know, and as far as maybe as artists in the Northwest, he is an unstoppable force. Even when people want to stop him, he will not.
Snipping to the left, snipping to the right, snipping up and down.
That's it. Show's over. Just go about your business, but please tune in the American avant-garde again.
Snipping to find yourself a treat.
I guess the person that comes to mind in terms of my first encountering this is Ryan K. Johnson. Whatever it was, he was coming to Great Uncle Jimmy, and he was like this in between the shots. And then he'd wake up, get everything set up, speed, and off he would go. But that was sort of the level of devotion that somehow Karl can inspire. I mean, maybe Ryan's that way every day of his life, but I suspect not. I suspect it's that enthusiasm that people want to be part of something larger that's getting created.
You know, before I started in this industry, in my current role, I didn't really understand that you had to wait till someone says speed, and then you can start talking. I just wanted to start talking because I like to talk. You know, I just thought, I'll just go. But then they said, no, you wait until someone says speed. That means the camera is going. Now, that's a free little helpful tip for you in the audience of the American Avant-Garde, because I know if you're not already an extra, sometime in your life, you're bound to be dragged in by one of your filmmaking friends. And it's good to have these tips, isn't it? I wish I had more tips. Okay.
Okay, now, here's my bus shot. Bing, bang, boom. We had to smuggle the child in. As you know, he used to live in London. As you know, getting things in and out of London is actually difficult. My own daughter was arrested in London at the airport once when she was, I think, 12. They actually took the kid and put her in a cell at Heathrow. And it's because she had mace. Her mother had given her mace to carry, which is illegal in England. And who knew? So, God, they actually took her away from me. And then I, started getting a little testing and say, God, the kid's 12, let me be with the child. And so then they allowed me to speak to my kid. And I have the paperwork. And a couple of Christmases ago, I framed it and gave her her arrest information.
Well, where are your reflectors and fill lights and things, Karl?
Hey, Ryan, look, it got brighter right there. Look at that, huh?
Automatic camera settings here. You could be anywhere. You could have shot that outside the door here. I don't even know we're in London.
No.
Where are the police boxes and the bobbies?
Oh, Lord. Use your imagination. It's called cinema. Okay, so we're going to actually be able to see Eve, which is incredible. There's a bit where we actually will see her and we'll keep it in. We've never done that, ever.
Ruin the illusion.
No, I know. But, who cares?
Okay, I'm just kidding. I know the truth. It's the Thames, isn't it? It's the Thames. I'm so happy to be able to share this with you. I'm on vacation.
This is his girlfriend.
It's Eve.
And she is like the most quiet, reserved person you've ever met. And you give her this puppet, and she becomes the Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful.
Who knew that she would do this?
And, there's some fabulous directors from here. There's
the great Brit Terry
clicking of the
Gilliam.
eyes,
All
Mom.
right, I'm just kidding again. He's an American, but he did spend a lot of time here now, didn't he?
You hear me
And
laughing,
he made
don't
some
you?
great films. One of my
I have no idea what she's ever gonna say.
Brazil. I love Brazil.
So we're gonna go to
okay,
Brazil.
and then Alfred Hitchcock.
movie or some
We
film?
No,
all
we're
know
gonna go
Alfred
to,
Hitchcock. We should go
the movie.
out tonight and rent an Alfred Hitchcock film.
And we're gonna put
that would
one
be
shot
best. If you
from
could do
one
that,
Hitchcock
that would
film.
really be best. They have
Now.
something here called Love Films. Now, what do you think it is? Me too. That's what I thought. But you know, it's just like Netflix, except it's
can't
English.
stop her.
That's what everybody says.
You have no
It's
idea what's
English,
gonna happen.
Netflix. That's not what I thought when I first heard it, though. You probably didn't think that either. Okay.
Low films. Low films.
There! Look at that! Actually use it for the first time. For the only time we'll ever put her on. We'll be right there.
That's right. I'm the voice of the puppet. But, you know, the thing that I have to say about the puppet is really Ryan and Karl liked the puppet a lot. I don't know that anybody else did like the puppet nearly so much. So the puppet got edited in to a lot of American avant-garde things. And, you know, I'm deeply proud of that piece of my own career, but I'm not sure that others loved the puppet the way that Ryan and Karl did. We'll let history decide that.
I see you're back. Did you go get a beer or something?
I don't think a cookie.
And we spent hours on these things that are on camera for 3 seconds. I mean, you know, I'm kind of the filmmaker who, you know, if you shoot a 5-minute dialogue scene, you spend about maybe 4 hours shooting that thing. And if you're doing an insert shot, you spend about 20 seconds on it. And Karl just amazes me about how much, you know, we'd have a full crew spending an entire day to do one insert shot. And that goes back to strings. I mean, I'd get there sometimes and we were doing animation of the bomb unfolding itself. And it was all pixelation, stop motion stuff that he used to do. And the whole crew standing around while one frame at a time, we move some little thing. I mean, there was one shot where he wanted to be behind the wheel, showing the gravel going by. And we built this huge, long section of road that basically was a piece of tar paper. Yeah, and they covered it with gravel. And I got the camera right down there, and the car's jacked up. And so we would basically spin the wheel, and then you would drag that stuff there. And so it looked like...
Well, there's going to be a lot. I can cut to almost anything at that point because there's a lot of slam bam, thank you ma'am, visual stuff that you can go to. Yeah, I could just do, you know, like half of the frame in a diagonal red and black, you know, depending upon the positioning of the tire. And then you can go back like Grand Prix. You can fill the entire screen with just the tread, and then you can go to something that's almost like a wing nut, just spinning. As long as things are moving in the same direction, they have the basic forms. You can you can explode the thrust of the imagery. So I just love that. I think it's an incredibly cool thing to do. The problem with me is I've always been driven by form and not content, and it's a great curse. Because I don't like content. There's a lot of films that you wouldn't even want to look at if you were just looking at the form. My problem is that I'm so driven by form that my stuff is almost impossible to look at. Now, I've shown you some content here, which is nice, but it's not my first love. I hate storyboards. I do storyboards only if I absolutely have to. If you do action, you have to have a storyboard. For me, it'd be like Living Death. Brilliant work, Living Death. Who needs it? It just drags it out. You know what storyboards do? The goal for a storyboard is to get rid of chance. You're avoiding chance. And I live for chance in cinema. Almost everything that I like, that I've ever done, involves chance more than pre-production thinking. I'm blown away by what happens when you least expect it. This is a reason I actually like to go into production, and those are hard to find. For me, it's a waste of time. Unless you're dealing with action so that you really and truly have to, when you get to the point of production, you have to be able to put down numbers on shots. This is shot number 1, this is shot number 2. Somebody in a script form has to be able to say, hey, here's where shot number 2 starts. And if it's action, and like Great Uncle Jimmy, 300 shots in 5 minutes in Eggnog. 1973, Eggnog. 95 shots in a couple of minutes where this guy, again, blows children away coming out of a school bus. 3 right there. Bing, bang, boom. 4. Okay, 4 things made that happen. Every time he kills somebody, his face goes black with rage. That set things up. Here it's going to happen again. He's going to go black with rage, and then we're going to start shooting. Black with rage. Back, side down, up, dolly, a reverse side. 5 shots. Okay, let's stop that. Okay. Who's got a question?
Funding for this presentation is made possible by
The Krogstad Foundation of New York, Stowe, Vermont, wherever that is, and Honolulu.
What about Karl as a self-promoter and things? Where, like, I mean, you walk in a video store and you see this brick of things that just says Krogstad on the side of it. Or, I mean, just all this. I mean, the fact that we're making this film right now. And, yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, one of the dichotomies of his life is that he grew up in the Sandpoint Country Club. And I think both of his parents were probably conservative people. I know his mother was a Republican and had in mind for him, I think, a more staid and reliable career than he came to have. But I always had the sense that he would have been a really good ad man, that would have been the secret conservative career that had his life not gone the way that it did. Maybe he would have been an advertising guy.
He would get out of the car, like at a red light, and like slam a poster onto a bus. Like, yeah, he got really in trouble for like putting, it's totally, like he would cover up stop signs, put on buses, he didn't care.
The self-promotion part of him is intriguing because he definitely has that get people to do something, like get you to be here today, contagious excitement, and yet he is not trying to sell a film that is going to make a commercial success.
You know, and basically, I don't make money in film. It's not my goal to make money in film.
I think if Karl had gotten and still might, you know, just a couple of different kinds of breaks from a couple of different kinds of people. And when he comes in here, you know, there's no better self-promoter. There's no better person that I've met as far as being able to say, listen, this is what I've done, and here's what I want for it, and this is great, and I appreciate anything you can do, and, you know, we're in this together, you know, and let's just see how it turns out. And you're willing to go on the ride. I'm a lover of Karl. You know, what can you say? You can't, you can't knock somebody who's, as good-natured generally, as much as you hear about fits and this and that.
So they stay on the horses, and you see the horses, and you can see the heat from their nostrils. And that's the sex scene in like Ryan's Daughter. Well, I've always wanted to do something like that that's much, much grosser. But at the same time, it's much cleaner. And it's total abstraction. And what it is when you need to add a quart of oil to your car, we all have these little plastic, you know, quarts of oil now. It's no longer the can with this thing, it's a plastic thing. And you open it up and you stick it in there, and it sucks. And when it goes boom, 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 and then it goes, ugh. And then it's so good. I go, whoa! And another bit, the same bit that I want to do is with when you make espresso. At the end I go, oh, these are the shots.
Yes, I shoot still photography, and I like to embellish photos. I remember the dead men on the telephone pole, the flames. It was a black and white photo, but I fixed it. And with painting, Jesus just having some fun, and the great Goya, the winter trek bringing home the crocodile. Some of the painters don't seem to know how to finish the work, so I step in and finish it for them.
I've known Karl for a great many years, and Karl is an extremely attractive personality, but you know, he's not George Clooney. And yet, over those years, he has been with the most amazing women, just very attractive, very smart, very lively women. He has tremendous taste in women and seems to attract them like a porch-like bulb attracts moths.
You know, there's that story about how Jimmy Buffett picked up a guitar to get the ladies. I think my brother picked up a camera to do the same thing, because I can remember him, and he's an okay-looking guy, but he wasn't, some big hunky football player. But he would, in high school and college, he would bring home these babes. I mean, drop-dead gorgeous women, and take their pictures. And I think that was his little hook. Let me take your picture. Anyway, it worked really well.
Yep. Oh, that's good. Move the finger around. Move the finger around. Move your finger around. Get down there. Get down there. Move your finger around slowly. All right, now, get rid of that. We're going to do the cockatiel now. No, not with your hands. It's just your hands. It's your hands. You got it's got to be more like this. No, that's a moose. You're the cockatiel. It's going.
The stingeries of the splash of tears.
Don't let the sun catch you crying.
Hell's own pet, my teeming heart exalts in all your sins.
Crying at my back door.
And when you move, the shifting scent as if a censer swayed.
No, you've done me dirty, and I just don't want you no more.
It's a toss-up now. What is he going to be best remembered for? His film or his paintings? I'd say, it's becoming sort of equal now. We would have maybe said film automatically, but now these paintings are really pretty darn good.
I think his painting legacy is very important. He has developed a style that is informed richly by a deep knowledge of the Surrealists and the Impressionists, but is very, very much his own. I think his contribution is huge on that score, too.
Most people think of me as a filmmaker who also paints, but I'm beginning to wonder if I'm not really a painter who makes films.
This is a book that I've never read. These are the words that I've never said. This is a path that I'll never tread. These are the dreams I dream instead. This is a joy that's seldom spread. These are the tears. This is a fear. This is a dread. These are the contents of my head. These are the years that we've spent. This is what they represent. This is how I feel. Do you know how I feel? 'Cause I don't think you know. I don't think you know how I feel. You don't know. You don't know.
No, if we're going to France, I want to go to museums. And then when we did, we both informed one another on that topic. I would say, fair enough now, he loves to go to museums with me when we are there, and I love to eat where he has chosen for us to eat while we're there. He really studies chefs and says, I want to go eat with so-and-so, meaning the chef that runs such and such a restaurant.
Cooking and making a film are the exact same thing. It's the same process. It's almost the same time frame. It's all about efficiency. You have to, plot out a lot of stuff, and then bang, bang, boom. They all have to happen in their given time frame. So film and cooking are the same thing. But the beauty about cooking is it happens in a day and it's over with. So cooking is really easy. And I have often said that any idiot can cook. I mean, this is chump change. There's nothing to this.
I hate to tell you this, but you've said that any idiot can paint and any idiot can make a film.
It's true. All of those things are true. Those are not contradictions. Any idiot can paint, any idiot can make a film, and any idiot can cook. Painting is a little different than cooking and filmmaking. Cooking and filmmaking are pretty much identical. Painting is, I don't know, there's something else going on with painting.
Show me what's on the stove again, because I have such a good shot here.
Well, this happens to be the Wabbit. Wabbit, hot. This is reduced balsamic. That's for our avocado. This cooked white asparagus, but now it's going to be used for the pasta. That's going for the yogurt, which is going to go for the carrot. These are the carrots. And this is the doggone soup. Soup doesn't look pretty. That's part of the problem here. I'm thinking I'm kind of at a loss, considering it's 7 o'clock and people are going to arrive at 7 o'clock. So I really don't have time to make the soup look prettier. I can just deal with it in the way that I was going to deal with it, and it'll be fine. Oh! Yeah, you guessed it. Bonsoir. We're nowhere near ready to serve. And you didn't heat the doggone things, did you? Well, the fucking bowls, you didn't heat them, did you? So now it's a disaster. Oh, shit, good idea. Okay, no, wait. Is this the main course?
It's a 20-course dinner.
We have some festive white wine for those of you that like white wine. It's in the kitchen. Good luck. Oh!
Dante!
Hi.
Amazing!
Oh!
To good eats.
There you go. It doesn't take a great brain to be able to cook. You pretty much just do, the simplistic things, and suddenly you have cooking. The secret to cooking, by the way, is salt. And the secret to soup is celery. We have to embrace the menial. If you don't get behind the menial, and washing dishes is the best example of the menial, then you're hurting yourself. You're increasing your stress level, and you go, ooh, that could be bad. Dishwashing is something you cannot fail at. You got a dirty dish, and you wash it, and then you have succeeded. It's hard for me to do the dishes. It's hard for me to begin a painting. It's not like I'm Joe Reno. It's not like I'm a real painter where, I just want to get up and I want to make paintings. I can't wait. Well, frankly, I could wait.
Do you have fun making films?
Ha ha! Well, there's a good question. It's the worst doggone thing. I hate the editing. I never look at the damn editing. I don't care about the editing. I hate storyboards. I do not want to go into production. It drives me insane. I don't have fun doing any. Well, of course, there's sex.
Carl gets laid a lot.
I fall on the sword of Hitchcock. This is Hitchcock's problem. He said, I don't want to be making these movies. The only thing Hitchcock wanted to do at the end was come up with the ideas. He said, unless he absolutely had to be on the set, he would have never shown up on any of his last movies. He said, but without me, it really doesn't happen. I'm Hitchcock, I have to be there. I go, and curiously enough, I'm finding myself in that same mental tunnel. I don't want to be there. I don't want to do this. But there's no one else who can do it. That's the other thing. The definition of art, one great definition of art, is that unless you did it, it would not exist. And when I say you, I mean you. You gotta be there. You gotta sit in that chair and direct the operation, because no one can do it the way you would have done it. But you can avoid doing it as often as you possibly can.
I don't know. I like wastoid.
When he is under stress, he gets barky in a way that's not easy. And it's not a big, common part of him, but it occurs in filmmaking when he's exhausted. He's got so many things that he's keeping track of that his mind is just about to explode. His asthma gets bad. He drinks too much. And at those moments, he gets to be a yeller in a way that's not that much fun.
Nothing, but they're not. Oh, you're here. Are you hiding? Get in here. What are you doing? You're on the floor. Both of you are on the floor. What are you doing? Come on, come on, come on. Give me this.
Don't shake it. And so that time we went out to dinner and we were just having a normal conversation. And next thing I know, he attacks my boobs and rips open my top, exposing me to all the tables just because we were in the corner of a Chinese restaurant.
No, this can't be the guy for me. But what I've come to realize about it is that when people know him, that work with him, maybe there are plenty that have just left because of this. But for the most part, I think they get used to the fact that it has to do with him and not them. And they sort of can let it blow wind in their hair that he's barking and not pay too much attention to it. There's something about it that's not scary. It doesn't feel personally attacking, but it's annoying. I think it doesn't feel personal because it's so clear that he's overwhelmed and tired. And so it seems so much more to have to do with things aren't going exactly the way I want them to go and I want them to go that way right now, than it has to do with the individual. But I don't know, maybe other people will give you a different answer to that question.
He barks, and it's clear. I mean, I like when he barks, because what should a director do? A director has to be clear and loud and bark.
I guess another part of it is I think he works with people repeatedly. So the people that he's yelled at the most are some of the people that are loved by him the most and love him the most.
I love his phone conversations. Caleb, this is Carl. Okay, so I interview somebody 2:30. I want to see you there. It'll be great. Tell a story. Bye. It's like it's over. There's no. So how you been? There's nothing like that. He doesn't care.
And his only direction when directing actors is just again. That's it. Like, you have nothing to go on. Different, again.
So being directed by him is a lot of, like, are you crazy? Like, really? You really think I can actually do that? But what's great is how positive that can be, so that if I get it right, it's yes!
Okay, here we go, folks. Step back here. Here we go. Lights on, Gene. Yep. Okay, and roll camera.
Camera speed.
Action.
How wrong the makeup artists are. When in order to make up an actress as an old woman, they insist on drawing wrinkles. And aren't we actors slaves to the same convention? In our belief to convey the idea of old age, it is enough to speak with a hoarse voice, make our hands tremble and walk with an unsteady gait. No. The process of aging means becoming another person, someone we don't know, that we've never set eyes on.
He actually tones the when he's dealing like with the actors, he kind of tones the manic thing down a little bit, because I don't think you'd get a performance if you were,
Look at me, will you? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Do it again! Do it better! Do it faster!
You look like Donna Mills here. This is pathetic. Do it again. You're like Donna Mills. Think you're on Knots Landing, okay? It's the last episode. You've been canceled. You're pissed off. Go ahead and say it now.
It's all the same ball of gooey wax.
That's Donna Mills. You know what? Do you have more powder? Because your face looks pitted and scarred. It looks coarse and tough. We have to do a little bit more because the lights are doing something on this side of your face. So go in there.
Pitted and scarred. I don't know what to do.
Go in there and pat yourself down.
Powder?
Yes. Have you got powder?
Base or powder?
I don't know. I'm not a woman. I don't know makeup.
But just fix the
whatever
light.
it takes.
It's just gonna
Channel 11, stolen from Channel 4. Whatever it takes.
Let's go back to singing. Can't you say something?
Bob talked about trees and like dandelions and daffodils like dancing.
Janona, I'm up here.
You're up there.
Yes, Janona, I'm up here.
If you're up there, who's that right there? Carl?
Yeah?
way you want it?
I'm right here, Janona.
You're up there. Before you were down there. Now you're up there. Which one are you? What's my motivation here now?
Same thing. You're getting on the plane. You're leaving the country. You have a whole new life. That's your motivation. Let's see you do it. Okay, go.
So, what's probably one of the most horrifying things that's ever happened to you?
Meeting Mother Superior.
Really?
Oh God, she's the original bitch from hell. The bitch. God, she's a bitch. But you see, she was right. Because having done this, when I give pleasure to people, I do it with a sense of love and support and connection. Love. Just sweetness.
Well, you've picked a
And
most
just a little
interesting
bit
way
of
to do
steam.
that.
Can I keep her?
Oh, lovely, lovely. I would like to have you for one night before I die of a stroke. But you're so goddamn...
Don't have a stroke at that time. We don't want to have you cut out of me.
What's my motivation here?
Oh, okay. Okay, now, I haven't exactly read the script yet.
I think part of all of us is lost.
No, I've heard it. Oh God, I sound
It's now a pastry tool. Steering away from...
You're steering away from
The gravity.
The fact that I might use
gravity.
the word anus.
The gravity of these exercise
Muscles,
balls.
Stuart, muscles. You use your muscles.
But aren't they magnetic?
And this is so beautiful. The shell of a cricket. It's saying itself utterly away. And I guess that's what I've done.
You sang away yourself?
I have sung myself utterly away.
I'm very interested in POV, point of view, who's telling the story. This must be a film in first-person narrative because it is an autobiography. If it was a biography, you'd have to figure out what to put in. Seeing that it's an autobiography, I've got to come up with what to leave out. And although the tale will be told in first person, my love of shifting POV will scramble that approach. It'll be just like when I have lights set up. I don't like one light source, and I don't like consistent light sources. My shots are theatrically lit, and I think the autobiography will be handled in much the same way. In fact, I'm not even Karl. I'm the narrator.
Ooh, that was fun, wasn't it? Well, now.
I need some heaven. I need some space to breathe.
That's better.
That might not be literally like a story time story, but it's something like that. And whether film is really in the position to be telling stories, or whether there's something else that it might be doing.
I think that making films takes a toll on the maker. Do you think it takes a toll on the maker?
Yeah, in my life, definitely. It's devastated my life pretty much.
Do you want to say anything more about that? Like how?
Well, it's you get so wrapped up in it that there's no time for anything else, and you don't spend time doing anything else. And here, you know how to cook.
Well, filmmaking keeps people busy. It really does.
Is that a good idea?
It uses up your life, which is so good. What other art form uses up your life like filmmaking?
I don't know.
Well, it's used yours up, Karl. Look at you. It has. It's used.
What?
It has
I'm
used.
aging as I'm sitting here.
No, you've been used up by it, and you don't even know it. The
I've
thing
been
is, you don't even
chewed up
know
and
it.
spit out.
We haven't been spit out, but you've been used up by it because it does that. That's what filmmaking does.
Looks good, doesn't it? The magic of photography. That was my school. Worst in the state. Looks good, doesn't it? The magic of photography.
Karl, I've gotten to know, is a very kind man, a very thoughtful man, a very warm person. These are not necessarily words that maybe someone would use to describe Karl, who had seen him in performance mode as the ringmaster, which is not to say they might not conclude that too.
All right, to opening, look at the camera. Everybody look at the camera. To opening day of the Fleety Shoot. Okay, click. Okay, guzzle. Where's the other camera?
He is a very, very loving man. He's very, very nurturing and caring at the same time that he's courageous, and that's a wonderful combination.
Happy face? That would be the full moon. Doesn't look like a full moon, does it?
Hey! Hey! Did you see that? There's a fly on my plate! What the hell? This is the middle of winter. What the hell fly is doing here? That's incredible.
It's the first
That's the first fly we've had.
First fly of the season.
I'm figuring some people probably don't want chicken, but most do. And who wouldn't want a good chicken? So anyway, this is just, you know, junk pizza. Intended for you to, intended for you to enjoy. Wow, what do you think? There was a spider, wasn't there? You saw it.
Dörren öppnades. Guden som kom ut var en spindel.
You heard a noise, said, come on, boys, let's go.
He's definitely a wizard from Valhalla. I mean, you know, those blue eyes of his, man.
From out of thirst to go. It's like you've seen a cop, and you don't exactly want to stop.
One of my ultimate best friends is Ragnar Reinholstein. He is not only the greatest potter in the Northwest, but also a sailor. Let's get on his boat. I understand that you have a rotten dog.
This is Mingus, the rotten dog.
So I know you don't know this, but there's this jazz musician named Charlie Mingus, and Charlie Mingus is known for beating his wife. Now, do you think...
During that time, Jesus, they were all...
Hey, come back here! What the hell are you thinking? He doesn't like this topic. He will not stand for this topic!
No, he won't, no. And you know what Charles Mingus's autobiography is called?
No.
Beneath the Underdog.
Those are my feet. That's the Cheerio that should have lured him over to here, and he didn't come. So now, oh man. All right, so here, of course, is my fabulous bird. There you go. I'm going over to the Picasso now. There we go. That's right, we'll just chase him.
That's where I am. I just can't seem to stay in one place all that long.
How long can he keep it up?
I'm always looking for the door.
Oh.
It's not that where I am is not where I belong. But I got frequent fire points to score.
Good.
I might be busy changing.
Oh, that's enough of that, huh? How you doing there? This is my bird. His name is Fallow, and he is camera shy. He's a cockatoo. Oh, my! Oh! Up in the clothes. Oh, no. You know why? Because I never, ever thought we'd use that shot. The last shot in the film of Poet of the Night is seeing the albatross walk away from us. It's pouring down rain. You know, there was no rain in this film. We shouldn't have been shooting in pouring down rain. There's no way we could use that shot. That would be a throwaway shot. Well, at the end of the edit, we realized, you know what? We've got no ending. And I thought, you know, we've got that one awful shot where we see the light across the street and we got the albatross walking in a rainstorm, which has nothing to do with it. But I thought, you know, it's terribly appropriate. And then we put in the voice of Eve, which is in Poet of the Night. She speaks twice only. And it is the most powerful voice we have in the entire film. And when I went to that voice and that shot at the end, I actually got goosebumps. You know, sit in the editing room and go, holy cow.
The albatross led me to one more door. I knew that I would have to wrestle with the albatross just through that door.
You have to know just where to cut off the road to. The trail, past a burnt-out trailer, past the chapel, until the lake, and in the boat out to.
fiction conventions. I'm really curious because I was going to go with you to one.
Well, you know, there aren't any lesbian science fiction conventions per se.
You're lying to me?
Well, it's fantasy. I wish there were, so I could go to them.
Were you lying? Were you trying to get me to go somewhere that I didn't know? It didn't even exist?
I don't remember.
You invited me to a lesbian science fiction convention.
Really? Where?
Well, I don't know. Was it in your car? Or I don't know.
How long have you worked with Karl?
Oh, God, frightening thought. About 7 or 8 years, I guess.
Yeah, what was the first thing you guys worked on together?
First thing we ever did, we did some music videos, and then I worked with, on Henry's Dracula film. That's when I created Karl into Von Helsing. He's got these strange eyebrows, and I used latex all over him. He loves it. He wants more. You just ask him, next time you talk to Karl, ask him if he's ready for more latex.
Yeah. So Karl likes latex.
Karl loves latex.
Okay.
Yeah. Trust me on this.
Whitby Abbey was smashed to bits in 1539. Whitby Abbey is where Bram Stoker wrote Dracula. Some of you may know it as Carfax Abbey, but Whitby has a horrifying and distinct past all its own. The 16th century was a rampage for stained glass. And then came the 17th century, new destruction to the glass of the ages.
He makes compelling things, he makes odd things, but as he shows with Stained Glass Masters and some of the other, no one can say he's not capable of doing a compelling, linear documentary or film and have it stay with you and you go, that was good. Because he proves he can do it. It's a matter of, does he want to?
The glass is in Mevagissey, and the glass is in St. Just in Roseland, and again in Penzance. The medieval's antique glass and stained glass itself had become useless until the 19th century. In his career, R.T. Bain designed 4 great Last Judgment windows. At Hanley Castle, he did so for Clayton and Bell. The damned were always held back by a chain, the tongues of fire lapping at their feet. At Kempsford, he shows us the devil.
When I was making Stained Glass Masters, I was always listening to AC/DC. When you see the film, you're unaware of the AC/DC influence. This is, of course, the music of my great composer, Kevin Hay. But just imagine if you heard it as I did when I shot it.
You're the only filmmaker that I know that I've worked with that can take the vision that they have in their mind and actually end up with it on the screen 9, 10, 12 months later, 2 years later. That's what it is that you wanted, and it's there.
When I heard Bill Corrigan say that, I was so proud. But like Giacometti and Beckett, I realized that the passion for trying is doomed to disappointment. Having said that, I like the shot of my daughter in the truck.
The tempest blessed my wakings on the sea. Light as a cork, I danced upon the waves, eternal rollers of the deep-sunk dead, nor missed at night the lantern's idiot eyes. Sweeter than sour apples to a child, green waters seeped through all my seams, washing the stains of vomit and blue wine.
This is my bay, the very genius of the place called Lopez Island. Lopez Island, for me, is the paradise of childhood.
Periodically, he'll go to Lopez Island for a couple of days by himself because he'll do what he calls his 5-year plan, and he'll try to think about what projects would he like to work on. But once he decides, he's willing to give up a lot to make those things happen. And that means financially and sort of personally in various ways. And to be able to think so freely and openly about what am I going to do with my time on this earth, I think is very unique to him. Maybe a special thing for artists to be able to do, but I've never seen anybody do it quite the way that he does.
As T.S. Eliot will tell you, if you attempt an autobiography, it shall be a very sad affair. Walking here again is a personal reenactment of an unrepeatable and ever-present event. I must have been 12 years old when it happened. At the time, it was ordinary. Me just walking near sunset, summertime, blazing sun, and a little transistor radio in my hand. Music no one remembers but me. I was walking on pine needles. I could smell them. In 1925, Maxime Leroy said, "I have nothing to fear. I am in France." I have long believed that there, one is oneself. France clings to my soul. I love the mobility of true liberty. I love driving, and best of all, driving in a foreign land. I want to see other people standing in lines in the shadows of a setting sun overlooking the Mediterranean. My happy heart ticks like a good clock. Why do I travel? Once I arrive, the answer begins to surface. Perhaps I travel just to see nature. I want to fight with nature, not to be bludgeoned by her, but to taste the dirt, the soil, to crawl in the waters. I think nature and I have had a long battle. I think in travel, I try to do justice to the battle. Baudelaire called the imagination the queen of faculties. I've always loved entertaining the queen. She can be hard to find. Great distances are required to track her down. We usually meet in France. But it's not Paris where I usually go. It's the countryside and to the south. I once had a best friend who made me cry. Still does. He morphed away from me in his death.
Francois, you know I make. I got it. You know I make films. Come on now.
For me, France was a standing remedy.
When he goes to Lopez, he goes to the thrift store and buys himself a cheap frying pan. And he has brought with him a can of corned beef hash and a bottle of red wine. And he goes and makes a fire on the beach and cooks himself the corned beef hash. And then at the end of it all, puts the fire out and flings the pan into the sea. So I think he has two sides to him.
Later on, my camera crew was dissipated. I mean, really dissipated. I think the vodka idea was unusual for some of them.
Oh, no! I'm no idiot. I know! Oh, man! We've seen that before. It's not pretty. Oh, holy crap! You're too close. I want to. You're too close. All right. You gotta go back about 4 feet. And when the camera goes back, then then you're turning on your side. You're going that direction on your side. You're writhing on your side.
In pain?
Right, get up on the tail, get farther up, throw yourself off. Don't really throw yourself off.
Do I look like an idiot?
I was told that the festivities, the events, not just the philosophy, should be considered. I was taken into a side chapel by people who called themselves shrine scholars. They showed me a book, The Mad Prose of the Blewett Pass Papers.
It's about Blewett Pass.
Perfect. Okay, now, this time, you have to stand there, and without speaking, you have to open it up to the camera. So let me get you lower so I can see your entire face. There you go. Not that you're
That's fine.
a leprechaun. Sorry. Shit. I know. Shrink down more. Get the book up higher. There you go. Now, face the book towards me.
I'm very tiny.
No, I gotta see the title. To your body. Get it by your body. All right. Now you're serious. This guy is looking at it for the first time. You're gonna show him the mad prose, and curiously enough, there's nothing in them. So with 2 hands. No, that's good. Ooh, no, there's a cross. That's bad. Okay, do it again. Keep it like this.
You know, that's great, but I'm propping myself down.
That's your goddamn problem. You're the fucking actress, not me. Okay, so you're gonna cross here, and then you're gonna slowly open it. What? I don't know what it was. Forget that. It was a dead bat for all we care. And then let these pages. You gotta let these. I gotta see some pages, okay?
Okay.
So get ready. No, I gotta see it first.
I can't tell what's going on.
Lower your head. Just a wink. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, now, get your hand away. My hand's still in there. Action. That's cute. This could happen a lot faster. So turn the book so that the wind could actually catch the pages.
I don't
know.
I'm not trying to find it.
Jesus, make it your own, lady.
Oh, I don't.
There, that's good. Now, do it again. Let me see the book. Get your hand out of there. Good. Okay, now, seriously. This is not fun here now at this point in the film. There, go ahead.
But there's nothing there. And then I heard,
It's a place to read what was never written.
Is that genius? Was that genius? I thought you're done! That was genius! Then there's these vast extremes that I'm getting to now, where I do voiceovers that have little to do with the content that you see on the screen, and I do subtitles that oftentimes have nothing to do with what you see on the screen. It's made for the web, therefore you're not anticipated to understand it in the first pass through. You're not supposed to. The idea is you're supposed to go back. It's like a hook. You're supposed to go back and be curious about the elements, and then you go over and over and go, oh yeah.
Dropped down and slobbered on his head and steak filled him full of lead. Oh, yeah.
I think the interesting thing is that this film can tackle my filmic influences combined with my own film practice. The book Shot to Death combines my intense sense of film theory with film practice, but could only touch on films that have influenced my cinematic decisions. In real cinema, there is so much pain, unending pain. I like Diary of a Country Priest by Bresson. Art is joy and the expression of pain. Persona is my favorite film. I've actually taken a shot of Christ's hand from Persona for my own film. Do the math.
I've gotta stand tall. You know a man can crawl. But when he knows you tell lies and he lets them pass him by, he's not a man at all. Don't want your love anymore.
You can't show the power of the Russian ark. You can only hint at the greatest shot ever created in cinema from I Am Cuba. But all of this suggested Karl. The unnameable, the invisible, the real beyond the real.
Step out in the light and let's have a look at you. Who's your boss?
We all want to finally see Harry Lime in The Third Man.
Eine Frechheit ist das, mitten in der Nacht so einen Krawall zu machen.
That movie sent me into a new studying of shot structure. This was actually not easy stuff. This became the workings of frames. These were not moving images. These were single frames. In my mind, this led me into the world of animation. Animation, of course, is nothing but single frames.
You know who I am? I'm the shredder. I don't care. Although we didn't want to do it, you have forced us to raise our... Okay, where's my gun? Please deposit 15 cents, and then, well, we will just let you go. Deposit 15 cents. Please deposit 15 cents. Come on. Sick of this. Oh, not again. How come, huh? Why me?
The rates raised. Having no luck?
Thompson must have.
Try the Mahjong parlor down on 6th Avenue.
They are dummies. All of them. This whole thing has been a fake.
Calling person to person.
Right, that's better. Hey.
Is June Allison in this one?
Please deposit 15 cents.
Now, George, let's put that gun away. Is he really the shredder?
Japanese. I don't know. Where do these things start? This whole thing has been too much for me. I have more doubts now than when I started. So much for my intuition. Maybe grandfather should have killed Chang Chu when he had the chance.
This is the title sequence that changed my life. If there was any one event that made me want to be a filmmaker, it was this. And I've always tried to out-Bergman Bergman. The handling of a title sequence became important to me.
Last night, I dreamt I went to Mandalay again. It seemed to me I stood by the iron gate leading to the drive, and for a while I could not enter, for the way was barred to me. Then, like all dreamers, I was possessed of a sudden with supernatural powers and passed like a spirit through the barrier before me. The drive wound away in front of me, twisting and turning as it had always done. But as I advanced, I was aware that a change had come upon it. Nature had come into her own again, and little by little had encroached upon the drive with long, tenacious fingers. On and on wound the poor thread that had once been our drive. And finally, there was Mandalay. Mandalay, secretive and silent. Time could not mar the perfect symmetry of those walls. Moonlight can play odd tricks upon the fancy, and suddenly it seemed to me that light came from the windows. And then a cloud came upon the moon and hovered an instant like a dark hand before a face. The illusion went with it. I looked upon a desolate shell with no whisper of the past about its staring walls. We can never go back to Mandalay again. That much is certain.
Last night I dreamt I went to Menabili again. Seemed to me I stood by the iron gate leading to the drive, and for a while I could not enter, for the way was barred to me. Then, like all dreamers, I was possessed of a sudden supernatural power and passed like a spirit through the barrier before me. The drive wound away in front of me. We can never go back to Menabili again. That much is certain.
But that's what the artist's job is. The artist's job is to reconsider life. I first encountered Karl, as far as I can tell, in the parking lot of the Bellevue Theater, and he's wild and he's intense, and he's got a shot framed up of the Bellevue Theater marquee, and he says, "There is no such thing as independent filmmaking." And that was the first thing that he ever said to me.
Frankly, my dear, at this moment, I don't consider you a good risk.
Who is this guy? Is this a bad idea? And I, again, could not get a straight answer. And people either were like, I hate him, I don't want to talk about it. More of them said, oh, he's great. But whatever you do, don't let him make you pay him to be in the film, right?
Sunk cost economics is that once you have something, once you possess something, you've already paid for it. Therefore, the day you use whatever this thing is, and it could be any number of things, it costs you nothing. It's free. It's a sunk cost. So when I go into production, I never have any costs. It's free. The minute I roll, everything is free. And you go, wow, doesn't make any difference. It's 35 millimeter film or if it's digital video, doesn't make any difference. It's all free. And you go, so if it's all free, then you don't really care about the budget.
For should he die, you could not later enjoy his sufferings. O child, O golden-haired, gentle-eyed child, will you do as I counsel you now? Having spoken thus, you will at once have done injury to a human being and be loved by that same being. This is the greatest happiness the mind can conceive. Later, you can take the child to a hospital, for the cripple will be unable to earn his livelihood. They will call you a good man, and wreaths of laurels and medals of gold will hide your naked feet.
Well, he said to me, as we just went into it, he said, I haven't held a baby for, 30 years. And I said, well, Ron, how hard can it be? Just grab the kid and deliver the lines and look like you're slicing the child apart. And Mom and Dad are standing right there. They understand the scene. They understand what's going to happen. I say, obviously, as soon as we put the child, your child, into Ron Ben Jarrett's hands, and he starts doing this stuff about, oh, child, may I counsel you, the greatest horror, the greatest joy. And I got, the kid's going to start crying, and I said, that's what we want. We want to see the kid crying. We got all these sound things running. We expect that. You should expect that. And they said, yes, we do expect that, blah-de-blah-de. Okay, so it starts going. And then the kid really starts crying, and now Ron Ben cannot remember a line. I'm going, Ron, 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 Ron! Now just open your mouth, say anything, we'll dump it in later. And so the kid is screaming, and the parents are going, Carl, Carl, and going, we're shooting, and I'm going, no, 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 no. Within 3 minutes, the parents are saying, that's it, that's it, that's it, and I'm going, oh my God. So we had that footage in 3 minutes of time. Now the kid's covered with this stuff that's, turned to, I don't know what, solid material. We don't have the water that we need. We don't have the proper, we got nothing. I got, oh my God, this is like, the worst possible scenario. So I worried about that with Honey Girl, because I've thought long about this shot where you open your mouth and gallons of honey go into your throat. And the first thing I said is, I want gallons of really hot water, and I want towels.
Beauty of whatever kind brings the soul to tears.
He's done less production, and that is a big relief to me because it just takes so much out of him. When we first moved in together in 2001, I remember picking him up from the set of Great Uncle Jimmy on the last night of filming, and he was just so done. I just am not used to regularly being around people that would put so much into something that they're exhausting themselves. It's not a part of my professional life. I work plenty hard, but I don't exhaust myself in that way. And the larger productions require that more. And I think it's been fun for him to play with found footage and be able to use the filmmaking, artistic, creative part of himself without as much production.
Our story begins in a murky corner of an old city where everything, horror too, is magical.
Il était une fois, l'accoutumance avait des ailes. Et le policier chuchota. Le pouvoir est une merveille, mais la merveille n'est pas le pouvoir. L'hypocrite grouille de pouvoir, mais pas de merveille. L'hypocrisie grandit quand la merveille est manquante. L'accoutumance de la drogue crée des emplois.
My basic viewpoint is I do not believe in God. I believe in the idea of God. I think religion creates wars. I think religion is the scourge of the earth. That becomes rather complicated, but it goes back to one basic thought. I think it's called the golden rule, which is, you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, if you can buy that as a concept by which we should live, then that kind of gets to the idea that if you take it to an extreme, then you can believe in this omnipotent goodness, and that would have to be your deity. That would be your God. And you go, okay, if you can believe that without buying in to the mumbo jumbo, all the hocus pocus, then you've done yourself an enormous service. Religion is based on comfort. People need to be comforted. All around the world, everyone needs to find a base of comfort. I am dismayed by how many people have found religion as the mechanism by which they can feel comfortable with their own life, their death, all of it. And I'm going, it's humiliating. I just find it to be so embarrassing. I just don't know what people are thinking. I mean, it's so obvious. It's obvious because it's so damn obvious that this is just an incredible, wonderful scam. But the idea behind all of this stuff is actually rather gracious, lovely, and you go, wow, who could fault the big concept?
Gasoline, liquid power to run millions of automobiles everywhere. Yet, how many know what happens to the gas after it is poured into the gas tanks, or realize the care that motor car engineers have taken to give each drop an equal chance to do its duty? Gasoline is powerful, but each drop can give a 100% account of himself only when he finds the most efficiently designed gasoline system to help him along his journey. For a successful life, every drop of gasoline depends entirely upon what happens to him after he gets in the swim. Ah, a nice one.
The sea has many voices, many gods and many voices. The salt is on the briar rose, the fog is in the fir trees. The sea howl and the sea yelp are different voices, often together heard. The whine in the rigging, the menace and caress of wave that breaks on water, the distant rote in the granite teeth, and the wailing warning from the approaching headland are all sea voices, and the heaving groaner rounded homewards, and the seagull, and under the oppression of the silent fog, the tolling bell.
Human kindness is overflowing, and I think it's going to rain today.
What do you think makes a good human being?
Oh, it simply kind of goes back to the golden rule, If you treat people decently, you'd like them to treat you decently, and it'd be nice if that's the way life worked. Curiously enough, it doesn't necessarily work that way. But that's a beginning definition of what it would take to be a decent human being.
I've never watched Karl paint, but I can imagine what it's like. You know, if God is in the details, Karl is an atheist.
This slide, what we're going to see, and this is kind of cool, is Gus Van Sant, Tom Robbins, and I get together every birthday because we essentially have the same birthday. We've been doing this for a decade, and this is one of those many parties. And this is the three of us blowing out candles on the cake that Eve Wright makes. She makes these exceptionally strange cakes. I can tell that this has something to do with monkeys this year. I don't know which year this was. Get your hand in there. Do you have anything to say about the monkey or not? Oh my God, look at all these other guys. They have all these damn wrinkles, except for me, I have none.
Hey you want to film my biceps?
So it's like reversal filmmaking in 16 millimeter. White always would trump black. And when you got to negative film, black would always trump white.
I don't like white mice. You don't like my white mice.
I think white mice are scary.
Well, curiously enough, in this, there are some elements that trump one another, and it's very hard to foresee how, in the end, it's all gonna go. So now, what we're gonna do is turn off this, and we're gonna turn these lights on to the image, and we're gonna see where we are. We put in no hair. So the question is, am I gonna keep it like that? Because that's really good. So I'll try to keep it like that, but it won't necessarily dry quite like that. That's the other thing. See that? It's a mess. I don't know what that is. And if you don't know what you're painting, you really shouldn't be painting it. Every painter who's a real painter bows down to Picasso. There's not one person who goes, oh, Picasso, he was no good. We all have to say, nobody will ever be Picasso again. I mean, it'd be tough to find another Picasso.
What about Karl Krogstad?
I'm no Picasso. Who's your favorite painter that might be considered a surrealist?
I don't know what a surrealist is.
No, didn't we discuss this once?
No, you never told me.
Oh.
It's like when Picasso was surrealist or just an old man with funny paintings.
Picasso stabbed mankind and forced us to look at the blood. He was fascinated by who would follow him.
For many years, I've wanted to do a completely unauthorized film about Picasso.
Picasso, 2005. The phenomenon of Picasso. He was born dead. He is pronounced dead at birth. Picasso knew every bone of anatomy. He wasn't guessing. He knew the bones and every cavity they create. He actually loved the bone structure of the horse, the bull, the bird, not just the bones of the bird, but the different bones of a pigeon or a hawk. He spent his entire life studying structures. Picasso loved detail.
Picasso's character was both alluring and repellent, as was, many people felt, his art. There is a struggle between the hideous and the beautiful in the work and life of Pablo Picasso. It is the links between his life and his art that leave an endless mystery for generations to come.
A tenor who reaches a note higher than any in the score. Picasso's story is just like the Bible. One tale, 100 points of view. His last words, painting remains to be invented. The most successful artist of all time. In art, Picasso was God, but in life, he was a coward. For all of his life, Picasso feared death. And when it came, that second time, he was in terror, and for good reason.
And unfortunately, he took no prisoners. It was like Lawrence of Arabia. He took no prisoners in the horror of the process of what he did. But he broke more new ground. He painted more great paintings, and it was just a shattering experience for everyone to deal with how brilliant this fellow was. Dare I say, this complete asshole was. It's a tough dichotomy. It's a tough thing to think about, that you have a hero who was a prick, and that would have to be Picasso.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh, yeah. Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun. I'm a man. I spell him H-I. In that rubber band man. No B. Oh, child. Why? That mean manish boy. I'm a man. I'm a full-grown man. I'm a man. I'm a natural-born lover's man. I'm a man. I'm a rolling stone. I'm a man. I'm a hoochie-coochie man. Sitting on the outside, just me and my mate. You know I made the moon, honey. Come up 2 hours late. Wasn't that a man? I spelled him H-I-N. That rubber band man. No B. Whoa, child.
So that is where we spend as much time as we possibly can. Willapa Bay is this magical, magical place, and it's the start of a magical section of our lives. There's a lot of interesting things about it. It is an incredibly physically remarkable and special place, and it's an Indian community, and that's a remarkable thing about it. And our second family, I think life is about creating as many families as you can. So we're lucky enough to have met Matt and Melanie Bowling and their daughter Brianna and their son Blake. And they people our world down there in a way that makes our life very rich. Without them, things would be kind of dull.
No! No! Oh! No! Please sit down! No! Please sit down! Don't do that now! Sit down! Okay. What's it feel like to be on second base?
Oh, look at this.
What's it like being on third base now?
Supermarket to get myself something to eat, and when I looked at the prices, they knocked me off of my feet. I was in the bologna section, and I had to take myself a close look. Now all Fuji bar couldn't have made these prices.
Oh yeah. Will you go get her and tell her I'm gonna play the trumpet? She should come in. All right, senor. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Karl was really You know, I met him when I was like 19 years old, and he was my total idol. I'm like, you know, I want to be that guy when I'm older. You know, devil-may-care, does what he wants. You know, art is his life. He breathes it. He lives it. You know, he never worked a day job since you were probably like, what, 17? Never. And I've seen him. I mean, he's had a past. And I've seen him and been a part of a lot of it. And I've seen him go through a lot of gals. And he likes gorgeous gals. And he likes the whole, you know, hey. And I was always just kind of like, oh, all right, yeah. And some of them I didn't like. Some of them were okay. But nobody matched his charisma and his brilliance and his fun-loving attitude. And then, you know, I met Eve and I was like, oh my God, you know, this is the one. You know, if you don't marry her, I will.
Welcome, everyone. Eve and Karl would like to thank you for being with them today at this Blue Jean affair. And look at them. Don't they look lovely? Eve,
Thank you.
a vision to behold, brown and beetle green.
You should spin around so people can actually see you at this point.
Spin.
They want one more.
Oh!
It's a bit of a shame for the rest of us that Karl is the only one who will get to hold this vision after this day. And Karl, in black, a suit no less, with a butterfly tie, perhaps to emphasize the gaiety of this beautiful day, for it is a beautiful day. A day of love, a day of devotion, a day of celebration. I am happy to be before you all here within this chapel, and inside this chapel, what a congregation. Unlike any wedding party we've seen or hope to see in the future. And now look where we are today. They're getting married! Married after several years of living in sin. Just to see how sinful things could get. Eve asked Karl to move in shortly after Great Uncle Jimmy was in the can, and he said what most people say after watching his films, well, that makes no sense to me.
I am quiet and sleepy in the morning. You wake up singing. I have never met a man that buys a new appliance, opens the box, throws away the instructions, including a remote control if there happens to be one. You are too old for me. You are the loudest person I have ever met.
Did you write this on a sheet?
You are the kindest and most exciting man that I have ever known. Wait, I think I need to say, when you slow down and understand someone's need, then you are the kindest man I know. Because in reality, you are not the kindest man I know. In a blanket way.
For they have declared their love to each other before family and friends.
And they are honeymooning in Tacoma for one night only.
We now greet them with you as husband and wife.
But you have to work for the producer.
Yes, I know. Well, when one has as good a producer as I'm going to have, there'll be no problem with that.
Okay.
So, yeah, you learn a ton from Karl, and this is back in the 70s, you know, late 70s, and there was a small town, Seattle was. There wasn't even a grip truck in town, you know, and there was no place to go rent lights or a dolly. None of that was around. And a lot of people who are big into business now actually got a start with Krogstad. The old timers who were my age and older, you know, all worked with Karl at some point in their career. They won't admit it, you know, in public, but they all did.
But I put my own name in the middle of the credits, And even I thought of Chartres Cathedral. I thought, I'm just a workman like everybody else. I'm not getting paid. In fact, I'm losing money. The only money that went into this film was from me. So not only am I losing money, but I am just one of the many workmen. And there were hundreds and hundreds of people that made the film. And it's they just want to do it because it's actually, again, sort of like an oasis of contemporary culture. And for cinema, it's shockingly rare.
But what I've always wondered is it must take a lot to motivate people to work.
No. I say, come and work for no money, and they say, okay.
When Karl calls me on the phone, I've known him for, what, 37 years? If he calls the phone and goes, Burl, I'm doing such and such, I'm there.
I get a call from KK, and as anyone who's worked with Karl knows how these calls go, it's always like, SS, this is KK. And it was a school night, I know that for a fact. It was a Wednesday night or whatever it was. I'm doing my homework. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing my homework. No, you're not. You're coming down here, you're gonna cut my negative. What? Just get down here. And of course, when Karl says jump, I jump. And so I go downtown to his studio, which was, you know, as I recall, like the loft over some crack house in Yesler Way or something. And he says, "You ever, you know, you're gonna cut the negative." And I really didn't know what that was. And now that I know more about filming, I realize that negative cutting is a very delicate, important, critical process. Karl says, look, it's no big deal. All you do, you run it through the sync block, you look at the numbers here. I don't even know, you give me literally like a 5-minute cursory introduction to negative cutting, and left me there. And left me there with all his original camera negative. I'm cutting, and who knows what I'm doing. I certainly didn't know what I was doing. And he left me there all night. And he comes back in the wee hours and says, great job. I'm gonna take you out to breakfast. And he took me to the 13 Coins, which was an all-night dive in Seattle's kind of famous all-night dive, and bought me breakfast and taught me to drink coffee. The first time I ever drank coffee, he showed me how to put like tons of cream and 12 packs of sugar in it, and it wasn't that bad that way.
And a side note of that the building was the old rocking chair, and there were old rocking chair and the mirrors behind the bar, and it was a glass bar with neon behind it. It took 3 doors you had to go through with electronic catches and little peepholes to get in, so it was a real speakeasy. And these old black people would come up to you and go, you guys are in the rocking chair. That's a pretty famous spot. Yeah, this is where Ray Charles got his start, you know. And we go, oh yeah. Well, then I go and see the movie Ray, and that's all he talks about is the rocking chair. And that's Krogstad Studios, same building. But of course, when we got there, we went upstairs to where the card room was and the full kitchen was, and blew out all the walls and blew out the ceiling to make a stage there. And who knows why it didn't collapse on us. And we spent a lot of time there. That was 5 or 6 years, and with the prostitutes, and it was a pretty seedy part of town in those days, and we paid nothing for it. I knew a little bit about electricity and soon figured out a whole bunch about electricity, because in those days it was all tungsten lights, and we were using 1Ks. I don't know if we ever got up to 2Ks, but we'd go into a house and start plugging in, and a lot of the houses we were at were just the old fuses, and so that's why I started taking out the 15 amps and putting in 30 amps, you know, so we didn't burn too much. Didn't blow up too many fuses, but the wires got hot, and again, they smoke a lot before they catch on fire, but the people didn't like that. So then, unbeknownst to me again, I made a breaker box, and I would go into the mains and with my little screwdriver and just wire in to the mains coming in from the street, and we'd bypass the entire house at that point. I was very young doing this stuff, and we were doing dollies. We had a spider dolly, and we put down these 12-inch pine boards, and then you'd nail down 1x4 pine boards on top of that, and this little spider dolly, 3 wheels, you'd have 3 tracks made up like that, and it would be rolling down these things. You'd have to get it perfectly level and set up, because the spider dolly wheels wouldn't lock. We didn't have locks on them. It just rolled and hopefully didn't flip out of this track. Well, you know, it drove you nuts because it would always flip out of the track and you couldn't get it to go straight like that. And then, you know, you learn what a real dolly is. You get a Fisher 10 with real tracks and you go, holy crap, what was we doing with Krogstad, you know? Oh, but other good things I learned, I mean, you don't know how many, you know, you go out lighting someplace and there's a lamp someplace that's too bright, you know, and all these guys, these grips and gaffs are trying to figure out how to dim it down and looking for ND gel. And, you know, I grab a brown paper lunch bag and just go and stuff it over the lamp and it's perfect. And that's Krogstad. I mean, Jesus, you just grab a piece of paper and stuff it in a lamp.
When the flood began to rise in me, I was invincible. The year was about 1980.
And I do recall Karl. I do recall Karl often having pretty good layouts of food that you know, spreads of buffets and whatnot at the shootings he would do in the borrowed buildings and spaces that he may or may not have had permission to film in. I had the pyramid on top of the Smith Tower as a studio, and I was working as resident artist for the city of Seattle. It was a nice gig, and Karl showed up and knocked on my door, and wanted to know if I'd start doing artwork for his movies. And I think the key criteria were proximity. Karl was also in Pioneer Square, and whether or not I was willing to work for free. So I agreed, and I started working on his films and doing pieces for him, and art directed a couple of films, and that was actually pretty entertaining. Karl would put ads in the Seattle Sun newspaper. It would read something like Krogstad Studios accepting interns. If you've ever wanted a job in the exciting world of movie making, now's your chance. And he'd get maybe a dozen or so eager students that show up and start making stuff. And within a short period of time, they'd realize that not only that there was no pay as interns, but well, there wasn't pay for anybody, so interns otherwise, but that they were also expected to bring their own tools and materials to do this job. So within maybe a week and a half, most of them would have quit, but one or two would stick around, and then Karl would run another ad. So I designed these characters and backdrops and city sets, and they'd get constructed by a whole group of individuals who had varying skills and approximate sense of scale. And that was actually a pretty charming effect, that the randomness of what got created. And of course, where they were working was Karl's studio, which was not at the top of the building. In fact, it was in the basement of the Union Gospel Mission, and it had some kind of mystery fluid dripping through the floors above. And if Karl needed a rain scene, he'd just get out the hose and hose down the place. And if he needed a fire scene, like a scene where the Kabuki theater is burning, he'd just light the set on fire and film it.
Safety is overrated.
Karl used to run ads in various weekly papers, advertising for crew to work on his productions. I think we watched Black & Decker Hedge Trimmer Murders. And so then I thought, okay, I'll go check this guy out. And first day on the set looked like fun and things that I could learn. And
safety is way overrated.
No, it was generally a lot of fun. There's always a bit of chaos, which is sort of part of Karl Krogstad chaos, I would like to think of it. But there's sort of a method to the madness. I think one of the things about working on Krogstad films that was, it had ups and downs for me, is that many of the people working on them are volunteers. So you get a real mixture of people. You get people that really have a passion for film and are really there to learn, or maybe they're bringing a lot to the table. And then you have people that maybe don't know anything.
I think there's a Dylan Thomas phrase that a true artist would sacrifice anything, including his friends, for his art. And so here was Karl, who would sacrifice whatever he had, whatever his friends had, his friends, and even production quality in order to get a film done. So they're really charming effect, But so when he's asking me for favors, basically to produce stuff for these films, I knew he'd get them done somehow. It didn't matter if there was a budget or how unlikely it seemed. I knew that Karl would do whatever it took to get the films made, and that was an impetus to go ahead and do the work.
I mean, there was no budget, and then Stallone came out with Rocky. And everyone said, "Oh, this is a low-budget feature. It didn't use much money to make this thing." And Karl goes, "We don't have a budget. We're doing no-budget features." So that was the coining of that term. Because, oh, man, we didn't have any money.
He worked on a zero-budget model. It's not low budget. There kind of is no budget. And that was a good way to be trained, because I don't think I would have made... I don't know that I would have made any films if I hadn't been exposed to that way of learning and training.
You probably don't know it, but Krogstad Studios used to be in the basement of a place in Pioneer Square underneath the Union Gospel Mission. And it was about 15 by 30 feet long, and it was packed with cardboard and paper sets. And you could barely walk through the place. They were up on the sawhorses and that kind of stuff. And the lights we used were the old Smith Victor photo flood 500-watt bulbs. And to snoot them, you'd wrap paper around them and then masking tape. And this is the old beige masking tape. And the line was, well, they smoke a lot before they catch on fire, which was basically true. They did smoke a lot, and they never caught on fire. But they were hung all over the place. And had there been a fire, the whole place the Union Gospel Mission would have gone up in 2 seconds, because it was just paper and cardboard sets stacked and jumbled. It's guerrilla filmmaking, so there's no money for lights. And this is a nighttime scene of a car going down 4th Avenue, and we had Coleman lanterns for the source of light. So there's a 8-foot 2x4 strapped over the doorpost of a sedan, and on the end of those is 2 Coleman lanterns providing the light for the driver. And on the hood of the car is Tim Miller, who was the cameraman at the time, and he is literally duct taped to the hood of the car with ropes going across him, but he's duct taped down, the camera duct taped, shooting in the window of the car. And this whole gizmo is going down 4th Avenue. Well, about the second pass, the police saw it, and pulled them over. And there's 5 or 6 grips kind of helping out around the kind of place. And the police are just looking at him going, where's your permit, to be on the street filming, number one? Well, no permit, duh. And this 2x4, you're invading the other lanes, and those Coleman lanterns don't look real safe. And then you got a guy duct taped to the hood of the car. This is not really safe, And so they started getting out their book, figuring out what kind of ticket they're going to get. And literally a half a block down 4th Avenue on the other side of the street, this fight breaks out. And these 2 guys are going at it. And he says, "I got a knife, I'm going to cut you." And they're swearing and swinging and stuff. And the police are looking down there, and they're looking at Karl, and they go, "Get off the street. We don't want to see you again." And they run down to stop this fight. These guys knifing themselves. Well, of course, the police start running, and they get about halfway there, and those 2 guys just disappear in the crowd, and you can't find them. Well, they were 2 grips who had gone down there to fake a fight, to fool the police. They left. And as soon as the police leave, Karl goes, "5th Avenue!" And we pile the car and go over to 5th Avenue and finish shooting going down 5th Avenue. And so that was, filmmaking with Karl.
No, this can't be the guy for me.
When this film's arrangements are complete, I expect to experience a long moment of exhaustion, of appeasement, of absolution, and of something very near annihilation.
In my dream, that's something else.
Dear, dear lady, is it possible to foresee the arrow destined for the future eye?
Take that video out!
It's gone. It is gone now. It's God, well, I don't know what else to ask. You got anything you want to say beyond all that? Good. Let's call this done. It's really good. I think this is it. I think you people can go home to your loved ones. Again, I love the idea you came to this event. Thank you very, very much. All right.
It's like Hensville, baby.
Dedicate one to the lady. Sometimes a babe needs something to keep you cool. Now sometimes a babe needs something to keep you cool. Better look out now, though. Dave's got something for you. Tell you what it is. I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. On my mind, I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. See, now all my flavors are guaranteed to satisfy.
I have had the fortune in my life to meet generous people. They've been generous with their time, their creativity, their professionalism, their enthusiasm, and their art. For me, there's been a lot of luck. A volunteer who turns out to be a producer, a shooter who turns out to be an editor. There are so many of you who appeared magically to offer a depth of talent that I am grateful for. Let me thank you by describing the quintessential piece of luck. A woman drives up in a broken down car and suggests she can find props for a film. I explain I have no money, but need a picket fence, a canoe. The list goes on and on and on, and I assume I will never see her again. The next day, she arrives in a truck with a picket fence, a canoe, and on and on. Now, as much as commercial success has not found me, this kind of luck has. And I would choose it again, this moment, as my best life.